everybody. I hope you have had a good weekend and found some time to rest and relax. We're going to give folks a chance to bop on here. So join, invite your friends to join. Remember to put your questions in the chat box. Kelsey is working on the chat box for us tonight again, and we'll get your questions to us as we go. So we're waiting to see people come on. Oh, there's a couple that are coming on. They're coming on slow tonight. Everybody, it's the end of the weekend. Everybody's tired. Oh, there we go. Now they're kicking up. So while you're joining, why don't you put in the chat box or in the, you can tell I've been on too many Zoom calls this week. Everything's in the chat box. Put in there what you did something fun this weekend. Write down for us one fun thing. Oops, write down one fun thing you did this weekend. Al just got caught. Al was just running something in the background that had noise to it. So what's one thing you did this weekend that was good, that was fun, that was enjoyable? I know. I'm going to look.
I think that'd be good. I'd like to hear a fun story.
A fun story.
Yeah, something that you enjoyed. Like that.
So this is John Spatz. Did I say it right? Is it Spatz or Spatz?
Spatz.
Spatz. Oh, I did it right this time.
Did, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
John is Executive Director of the Nebraska Association of School Boards. He's joining us tonight to talk about things that are happening from a school board perspective. John, but we should answer the question that we ask others to answer. I'm trying to pull up Facebook Live so I can see some of the questions on my phone. But what's something fun that you did this weekend?
Oh man, I was talking with Maddie earlier. On Saturday this week was the first time in about 2 weeks where I didn't have a scheduled conference call or something like that, and I was able to take a breath for the first time in about 2 weeks. So I've got 3 kids at home.
And how old are your kids?
12-year-old, 10-year-old, and a 6-year-old. Kindergartner. So we spent some time with the kids this weekend and had a good time, and we're trying to do things in the house and trying to abide by that. We do a lot of walks, which is great. I wish the weather was a little bit better.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of walks this weekend and played some catch out with the kids, and so spending some time with the kids and trying to get my mind off of some of this stuff.
Well, you had a birthday.
I had a birthday last week, last Tuesday I think it was.
Yeah, because your daughter and I had a great conversation about it. We were on a Zoom call.
That's right.
And his daughter was showing me the cute mermaid she made for Dad.
She did.
That's right. And then your birthday cake was?
It was a unicorn cake.
A unicorn cake.
Yeah.
Who decided that?
Well, my daughter, a kindergartner, got a pan from my folks for her birthday, a unicorn pan, a frame.
Yeah.
It was the first time we used it, and I made it with her, and I made a mistake because I used one cake and I filled it. It was too thick. Oh. And the middle really didn't get cooked very well, so it was in there a long time. I had to break it up. Yeah. But we flipped it over, and it looked fine.
Oh, good.
Just the underneath wasn't right.
Good.
So we decorated. We took some pictures. We had a lot of fun with that.
Oh, that's good.
The problem was I ate it.
Yeah, I know.
And if this goes on for another 8 weeks, I'm going to put on 50 pounds at this pace.
Oh, I know.
I'm not kidding.
No, the emotional eating is real.
Well, yeah.
It is. I get on the scale every day, and because if I don't, I will be so bad, and it's bad. Everybody's emotional eating right now.
I don't buy, when I'm in the grocery store, I don't have an urge to buy bad stuff, but we have a lot of stuff in the house right now.
Yeah.
And if it's there, I eat it.
Yep.
I eat it.
I know.
I've been struggling with it.
I know. I've been doing the same thing. Yep. I've been trying
to. Makes me feel a little better.
Oh, and we've had the big thing in our office that everybody in the office is that way. Well, let's see what some other people have been doing.
Okay.
Lacey Caddick celebrated her daughter's birthday, and Tina Schmidt's got some runses in the oven. I love homemade runses. I love homemade runses. Christy Liebert learned to play cribbage with her husband.
There you go.
There you go.
Love it.
My niece was talking to me about how they figured out how to play board games with each other virtually. I thought that was really funny. Kristen Strader napped and read 3 books. Some rest and relax time. A nap.
That sounds fun to me.
I crashed last night. I put a thing on my email that said, I'm not answering any emails till 10 o'clock tomorrow, and I promptly fell asleep.
Good.
And those of you who look at my Facebook page, you'll know what else I did last night, which was Derek, my 19-year-old son, now 20. I can't say he's 19 anymore. He's 20. He was finally, after a week at home, he was a little stir crazy. And so he needed to get out. So we walked through Lowe's and we went to the car wash. Now, if you want to see a really fun video of somebody thoroughly enjoying a car wash, check out my Facebook page because Derek was having a blast in the car wash. So, all right, we've done some fun stuff. So now let's get to the work. Okay. All right. So, guys, we're here tonight to talk about lots of questions folks are still having. Lots of concerns people are still having about what's going on in our schools. Things are starting to settle out a bit, but I do have a lot more information to share with you tonight. First of all, I want to say that one of the things, a lot of our learning is in hindsight. And one of the things that we've learned in the last week, it's great that teachers are being paid, that we have a state law that says teachers may be paid. Part of the reason for that, though, is teachers are seen as essential employees. And as essential employees, we're expected to be continuing to do some work while we've been paid. The problem is that there's no continuity in that. We were in such a rush to get our kids into a safe space and to try to come up with something that it's been across the gamut from, no school at all to you should be on. Literally got an email from somebody today that they forwarded from an administrator that said you should be online from 8 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon, which is not best practices. And so we're trying to deal with those things. But we also need to deal with the fact that we are essential to our communities and never, they're noticing that now, right? How essential we are. So we have to find a happy medium in being able to help our kids, but still take care of our own families. Trust me, we have heard you. We understand how difficult it is to be teaching and you've got your own kids at home. And so we're going to address some things tonight about that. I also want to let you know that we have gotten the answers that we've talked about in the last couple of sessions about retirement, and very happy to let everybody know that. If you go to the NSEA.org website, we have a letter posted there from NPERS regarding their guidance around retirement and the Nebraska Public Employees Retirement System, as well as OSERS, the Omaha School Employee Retirement System. But the good news is both of them believe that since teachers are continuing to be paid through the shutdown, that is going to qualify them for the 1,000-hour requirement needed to be able to retire and get your credit for the full year. So that's really good news. Now, on the other side, always the good with the bad. I know we've heard from several of you that are very concerned about, hey, I had extra duty pay. I was a coach. I was this. Does that count towards the pay? Right now, the legal guidance that we're getting, and guys, remember, when we do these things, I tell you, this is as of now. Things can change, but our most recent ruling on this from legal counsel is that it's going to have to go district by district. You're going to have that conversation with your district, but there is no guarantee on the extra duty pay. There's guarantees on the salary, not on the extra duty pay. So you need to have conversations with your education association presidents, with your negotiators, with your school district around that extra duty pay and how they're going to handle that. So I wanted to make sure that got out there tonight. So the other thing I want to get out right off the bat, because we've talked about it a lot before, is our substitutes. And there's a lot of concerns about people who are substituting and I know we've got 1 or 2 districts that have told people, well, if you're a long-term substitute, we're going to keep you paying, but that's not a lot of districts that have done that. So I've become a little Twitter person, and there was a thing on Twitter from Senator Matt Hansen, who's chair of the Business and Labor Committee at the legislature. And he says that we're working on some clearer explanations of unemployment benefits that we will share soon. In the meantime, the basic recommendation is if you're no longer getting paid, you should apply. And another one of the state senators said, hey, our guidance right now is this applies to substitute teachers also. So it'd be better to apply and then have them reject you than not to apply at all. So that's the best information we have now for subs that haven't already been notified by their district that they're going to get paid. Okay? All right. Now with that, I think we've answered some of the big questions that I had information for from previous times. And now we've got some questions. Well, first of all, John, thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah, happy to be here.
He was very quick to say, yes, I'd love to be there. We, as teachers, we know what it's felt like from our point of view. Yeah. But what's it feeling like as a school board member? I mean, you guys are under a lot of stress right now, too.
Great question. And Maddie, if you'll indulge me for just a moment, I just want to say I don't often have an audience with teachers. We do sometimes, but I do want to say, my mom was a teacher, my dad was an administrator, and my grandparents were board members, and obviously I work with board members and administrators and teachers. And when I lead the state of Nebraska, we work with a lot of other states and their educational systems. I always say when I come back, I'm very happy to come back to Nebraska. The system we have here really is one of the best in the nation, and the teachers are such a big part of that. And I've been asked why is Nebraska doing as well as it does, and I think there's a lot of reasons out there. But our teachers many of which came up through our public education system in the state of Nebraska. Our teachers in the state of Nebraska have a strong work ethic. They have character. They're passionate about their students. They're passionate about their professions. The administrators are, and the school boards are. And our system isn't perfect. There's not a perfect system out there. But really, the system we have here in the state of Nebraska really is one of the best in the nation because of our people. And I want the teachers to know we support you, we appreciate you, and we can't do this without you, without your passion, and without your commitment towards doing what's best for the students. So kind of looking at the situation right now, you alluded to this, our guidance as of this minute is blank.
Right.
And I look back over the last 3 weeks, and I wish I could go back 3 weeks and talk to me. And I'm sure you could too.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And I thought, I vividly remember this, talking with some public health.
Okay, somebody says to speak up. They're having a hard time hearing us, so speak up.
Okay, I'll speak up. About 3 weeks ago, talking with some of the public health folks and saying we should probably shut down for 8 weeks. And at the time, to me, that seemed like absurd. Now, that just seems like what everybody should be doing. That doesn't seem so shocking anymore. So when you think about a school board member just like the teachers out there and the administrators and the community members. But school board members own businesses in our communities. They're farmers and ranchers. They have kids home right now. I have kids home right now. There's anxiety there just as a parent and as a community member. But when this started, when we really started getting neck deep into this, some of the concerns that we're hearing about, well, if we're sending the kids home, how are they going to eat? You know,
that was the first thing.
It really was. Yeah. And think about how the communities have stepped up here, though. I think I've been very proud, and we've heard a lot of good stories out there about how are we providing meals for the kids out there. So I'm really proud of our communities and the teachers and the administrators and the board members collaborating to make sure that we're making food available for the kids. Some of the other concerns that came up right away is, well, if we're going to shut down, what are we going to do about testing? What are we going to do about the state requirements, the federal requirements, et cetera? There was a lot of anxiety about that. And I get that as we're going through this. Some of the other concerns, as a board member, you're hearing a lot from your community. You're getting emails, you're getting text messages, you're hearing concerns from the public, you're hearing concerns from teachers, you're getting questions. What do you do with that?
Yeah, I bet some board members got calls of why are teachers going to get paid if they don't have to work? I mean, y'all know it's just kind of catching up to all the work you've done every other time, every other place. You and I both know that, and John will agree to that too, I'm sure. However, not every taxpayer agrees with that. So
yeah, I know. So what do you do with all that information? And that's something that there's not an easy answer. How much do you filter through to the superintendent? Where do you go to find the answers on this? Those are some of the things that I've been hearing out there. But really, for the average school board member out there, they've got businesses to run. They may be getting laid off right now.
Yeah, that's true.
They've got to figure out how to manage their kids and help provide for the kids right now. So those are anxieties that teachers have, that people in the community have. Those are things that I'm dealing with right now. I'm trying to manage your workload with your family load right now, and that is very challenging.
You know, it's interesting. So guys, I'm learning to like kind of watch what you're saying on my phone as we do this. And Katie Chamberlain says Columbus public teachers need a shout out for driving 7 miles to Duncan to make sure those kids eat. So these teachers, you know, I saw a thing on Twitter the other night that teachers all got in their cars and they went driving around their neighborhood and just waving and have their own little parade of kids because the kids missed them. I mean, the creativity of our teachers is just amazing.
And I think we're going to hear more and more stories of that. I think when we're done with this, we're going to be able to fill volumes of books about things like that from our communities and from our education community. I think there's going to be community after community. There's going to be great stories like that where people really have stepped up to do what's in the best interest of the community and the kids.
Right. All right, so let's answer some of these hard questions because it's easy to talk about the good stuff. But there's some stuff going on. You know, I've said before, in times like this, the true nature comes out, and some people are doing great things, and some people it's a little bit cray-cray. And they need to back off the pedal a little bit, or we're not going to have any teachers next year in some of these places. So, you know, many districts are still asking staff to report to buildings. Does that put teachers at risk? Does NASB have guidance on how they should be handling this?
Well, the guidance is, if you're a decision maker at a district right now, there's a lot of authority coming out. There's state guidance, there's federal rules and regs, there's federal laws, you have a collective bargaining agreement, you have policy, and you have kind of the common sense side of that. I mean, what are we doing that's going to protect the community right now? So there's a lot of things happening in different districts. And so from the school district's perspective, we say, what is your policy? What does your collective bargaining agreement say? What is the state of Nebraska saying? What are we requiring? And we're working through all of this right now. And I mentioned this earlier, all the different authority that we have out there, there's some mixed messages coming out there. What is the expectation for schools for this remaining school year would be one of them. So we really do have to collaborate with the teachers, with the administrators to say what is in the best interest of the community, number one. What is in the best interest of the kids in that district? What is in the best interest of the families there? And a lot of teachers have families. So those are, we're saying you've really got to work with each other to identify what's in the best interest of the community as it relates to these issues.
Yeah, very true. So one of the questions was, do we know how many school districts are requiring their teachers to report for a full 8 hours? No, we don't. We are working on collecting that information. We're working through our organizational specialists and our negotiators, asking them what's happening. As we've been getting stories that egregious things are happening, we've been reaching out. I've said that we're developing a multi-tier system of support for some superintendents that are struggling. So it's first, get the factual information, have them talk, your leadership should talk with your superintendent, then get our organizational specialists involved if necessary. And if things still are not in what's in the best interest of kids, then we're getting that to the commissioner, and he's made a few calls to superintendents. Brenda Beechler said, well, I heard that kids can't go to school. What's up with that? Yeah, the governor did say teachers do not bring your kids to school. I was on a superintendent's call this afternoon where that got a little muddied. I'm going to talk to you about that call today. But then I talked to the commissioner afterwards and I said, what's up? And he said, no, I need to put out a note. Teachers are not supposed to be bringing their kids to school. We need to figure this out. Actually, what the commissioner wanted me to tell everybody tonight was he really wishes everybody would just take a deep breath, and we let everybody take a deep breath. Because people are doing the best they can, but we can all slow down a little bit and it'll be okay. He doesn't care about hours. Let me say that again. The Commissioner of Education does not care about hours. The online instruction, he said, if you can get in 2 or 3 hours of good instruction, whether it's online or whatever it is, if you can get that a day, that's great. He does not expect anybody to be sitting at their desk from 8 to 3:30. And he's going to be trying to get guidance out to superintendents on that and to school boards. I will say when it comes to this, the teachers at risk, one of our shout out to Jason Weesey, one of our NSEA board members who put together, reached out to, I don't know, one of the public health boards, I think, and said if our school is going to be open, then we need to be able to follow these safety guidelines. All of us are supposed to have a school safety committee, right? Every school, school district.
Every district.
Every district is supposed to have a school safety committee. So, hey, association leaders, go ask your superintendent how the school safety committee, if you're open, how is your school safety committee being engaged in this? And what are you going to do? Are you going to make people register at the door? Are you going to take everybody's temperature? Are you going to ask them a series of questions? Are you going to offer them the opportunity to gown up? I mean, there's a lot of safety stuff that is going to have to come into play, especially as more and more communities have people who test positive. Because guys, we know there's more cases out there than we know about yet because our testing hasn't been able to keep up with it. We know that, so we all have to act like you never know. I mean, this is why we have our safe distance here, right? And I want you to know that Al, with his huge collection of yardsticks, mine is from North Platte because I went junior high and high school in North Platte. And John?
From Ord.
From Ord.
Nebraska.
Al's got it covered apparently for everybody who comes in. So it says it right there. Okay, so I think it's totally fair that if your building is open, you should go to your district administration and say, what are the safety guidelines? How has our safety committee been engaged in developing those safety guidelines?
Yeah, and just as an example, for my office, my safety committee met a little over a week ago as this started, and we adopted a new policy on the coronavirus and kind of what the expectations were internally as it related to this new pandemic. Maybe that's something we should have had anyway, but we didn't. But that's something that our safety committee grabbed, and it's a new policy we have in my office.
Yeah. Okay, so lawmakers are going to meet tomorrow. They're going to meet over the next 3 days to pass an emergency budget. That's the one thing they have on the plate that everybody's agreed to. Do local school boards need the legislature to grant greater flexibility to address the pandemic, or do you guys already have flexibility in your budget?
Great question. Well, one of the things that we're working on right now is, can we meet as school boards? There's the Open Meetings Act that would say if you can't have a quorum of the board together, you can't conduct a meeting. There is an exception out there for emergency meetings, but the way the law works is that to have an emergency school board meeting or a city council meeting or a county board meeting, whatever the emergency is, has to be unexpected or unforeseen, and it's something that can't wait for a special meeting to be called. Well, that's not exactly what we're dealing with right now. What we're dealing with is something that really isn't addressed in state statute. So we have drafted some language that would enable boards to meet, because boards have to meet to pay payroll,
right?
To pass payroll. And
yeah, just because the law says you all get paychecks, they still have to pass stuff.
Right.
Who's writing the paychecks and all that
right?
stuff?
And how do they meet? So obviously, if boards can't get together, can't in a physical place get a quorum of their board together, how do we conduct the regular business of the board? So we have drafted some language. We hope it can become a part of the emergency package tomorrow, but we don't know that.
Yeah,
If it's not, the governor did have a proclamation this last week that said until May 31st, boards can meet electronically if necessary. They still have to abide by all of the requirements of the open meetings, which means you have to provide notice, you have to provide the public the ability to hear what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. And you have to have an agenda, all of which we'll do. But as the state statute rests right now, there's no ability for boards to meet by electronic means to have a regular board meeting. So if the legislature does not pass some changes in the Open Meetings Act when they meet tomorrow, we do have some guidance from the governor that from the executive branch that says we will enable boards to meet by electronic means.
Right. So every teacher knows that the most important people in your building are your school secretary and your school custodian, right? They are the gatekeepers of everything. And these are also the stalwarts of our communities, and you know, it's so important. And the law, written in 1919, we didn't have a lot of those folks back then. Teachers ran everything. So now what are school boards doing to help non-certificated staff and hourly employees?
Oh, great. This is such an important question for so many reasons. A lot of school boards have passed resolutions saying we are going to pay these folks. And I think that is critically important, because keeping our hourly staff on the payroll is going to be very important for our economy. If you look at your local economy in every community across the state of Nebraska, we're going to need as much money circulating in that local economy, because there's a lot of people out there who will not have the ability to stay open, whether it be a restaurant, in the hospitality industry, or what have you. So it's in the benefit of the public, it's in the benefit of the communities to make sure that we're keeping our hourly staff employed, number one. Number two, we want to keep them. I think in the long run, we want to make sure that these folks are employed, they're part of the education community in our local districts, because we want to keep them there next year and the year after. So that is critically important. So we are advising boards to pass resolutions to make sure you're doing what you need to do to keep these folks on the payroll. We think that is very important.
So you just mentioned we want to keep people around for year after year, and somebody said, do teachers and staff need to worry about job security for next year?
No, I'd say absolutely not. You can see teachers for not just for purposes of this pandemic, but you can clearly see it now, the essential function that our public education system plays, and the role that teachers play in that, critically important to our overall, just us as a community, us as a country, us as a structure in our society. The importance of teachers cannot be underestimated. So right now, I would say don't worry about that. Number one, you've got to worry about doing what's in the best interest of you, your family, and the community as it relates to this virus, and we'll figure everything out after that.
I love all the shout outs. People are giving Boone Central, Fremont Public, all the places that are paying their support staff, which is one of the things we're trying to do, is collect the information of people who are doing really great stuff so that we can give them kudos for doing that. I want to go on and answer, I want to share with you some information that came out today. So as I mentioned before, John and I and others are invited every Sunday to a phone call with the commissioner, his staff, and folks across the state. Administrators across the state. And today, you can tell that the commissioner's getting more prepared too. Because in the past, it's been like, here's my handwritten notes. Then it was, here's a little agenda. He had a PowerPoint today. And I want everybody to know that Karen's posting in the, I have to figure out which way this goes. Karen is posting, Karen Kagarin's with us tonight. She's getting better from the flu. By the way, Jenny, for those who don't know, Jenny's not with us still because she's better. She's able to get out a little bit more. She's answering questions in the chat box, but she's still doing her distancing thing. Hoping she'll be able to join us next week as she gets over the influenza. This PowerPoint is now available on the NDE website. If you go to nde.gov and they have their own coronavirus piece on there, little box, click on that, and then it's dated for today, 3/22. And I just want to go through with you some of the things that they told superintendents across the state. There was a welcome by the governor. The governor said, well, actually, Matt started with this nice little Mr. Rogers quote, about how when scary things happen, good people run in, which we all know that's happening right now.
Yep.
And the governor talked about that and all the good things he's seeing around the state right now with people jumping in. But the governor said we need to settle in for kind of the long haul on this. It's going to be a while. The governor, and kudos to the governor. I mean, he's really listening to folks. He's working really well with Matt and with Dr. Antone, and he's listening to the people at UNMC. Good. Not everybody in our country is listening to the experts on this, but we have the experts in the country at UNMC, and he's listening and meeting with them on a regular basis, and he's following what they tell him to follow, which is fantastic for all of us. The governor and Dr. Antone got on. There's not anything a lot new. What they said, we do have, Dr. Antone said as of 8 a.m. this morning, we have 48 confirmed cases in Nebraska. He said the World Herald's reporting 49 because one of them was actually tested in South Dakota, but I think lives in Nebraska. So there are 48 cases in Nebraska that have been confirmed. They also talked, though, about how Colorado is quickly becoming a hot spot. They blew up from 70 cases last week to 450 or more this week. I didn't bring those notes with me, and how concerned they are about that and how that's impacting the Panhandle. And in fact, after the call, I got a text message from Andre Langoria, our staff person who covers the Panhandle, and all of the Panhandle has now notified that they're being shut down through, I think they said through the rest of the year. I read that to you. I can't remember, but I think it was. So the Panhandle, which is an actual educational service unit, that whole service unit is shut down, and it's because of what they're seeing in Wyoming and Colorado, and they're concerned about the travel patterns on that. So they talked a little bit. I'm not going to hold this up because you can't see it. Go online, nde.gov, you'll see it.
I do have a comment, sorry, about paying ESPs and hourly staff. How long are they being paid through the end of the year? Do you have any idea?
That's every school district is determining by their own resolutions how long they will pay them. So that's district by district. You got to look at the resolution that was passed by the school district. Okay. Yep. So then the commissioner talked that his recommendations on school operations. Okay, guys, take a deep breath. Everybody was saying on the call today, they do not expect us to go back to school at all this year. Okay, I know that's hard. Should not be shocking. We hope we can. I mean, that'd be great. But they are saying that nobody thinks right now that's going to be reality. They're looking at all the projected numbers. They're concerned. They're looking at a timeline of about 2 weeks before our numbers start to spike a little bit more. And so they said we all need to be preparing to be out for the rest of the year. Hard to hear, but I think it's important to confront the reality of that. But we need to be looking at continuity of learning opportunities throughout the remainder of the school year. We need to be prepared to operate in this alternate learning environment through the remainder of the year. We need to be ready to operate in this environment for the remainder of the year. Everyone wants to be able to return to normal, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And we want learning opportunities for all students, but we're aware of the equity gaps. We're around special needs, poverty, English language learner, technology, and don't forget, we got Teacher TV starting tomorrow. We need teachers to be teaching on Teacher TV, and so you can go to nsea.org/volunteers and volunteer to be on Teacher TV, because that, we know, will hit more students who don't have the internet, but can have that access. Al, your hand's going up. You got a question?
Would you clarify end of year, end of school year, or calendar year?
End of school year. That's a good clarification. See, good question, guys. Keep me from saying something that's going to make people panic. Right. Like when I said freeze grades, they thought everybody was going to freeze in the same grade level. No, don't even talk to me about grades. That's your district by district decision. That should have been my answer to that one. Now I know that. But food security has been a big thing. So, and a reminder to people, if you've got kids that are having problems with food security because their parents are out of work, they don't have the money, your superintendent, your work with your local leaders. We know that food banks are being set up. We know that schools are developing these grab and go programs. But if people have problems, that's why we have the Children's Fund. We are thrilled that there are more requests coming into the Children's Fund from our members. And we have worked out a process by which normally we don't give money for food, but we know that's a need right now. We have a process for that. So if there's a problem, please work with your local association leaders and let us know what it is, and we'll let you know whether or not we can help.
And Maddie, let your board members know too, because there's some grant opportunities that we have available for boards who are saying they need help with food.
Yeah, great, good. That is really good to know. There's also accountability and assessment. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail around what Matt said. Hang on to your question, Kelsey. Or go ahead and give me the question if it has to do with this. No, something different. Okay. So Matt said that really we should be everybody taking a deep breath and doing planning for 2 weeks. Okay, I know you're all laughing because you're like saying planning. We're like teaching tomorrow. But, you know, how are you going to serve the educational needs of your students? How are you going to address the equity issues? Then for the remainder of the year, we try to put in this implementation phase, right? So let's just kind of tinker with it and see what's working in the next couple of weeks, see what's working and not working. Some of you might be on spring break this coming week.
Right.
I mean, spring breaks are going to be coming up. And then the next phase is, you know, what does it look like that we return to normal operation? When that happens, your end of the school year reports and your administrators have to worry on those reports, and then planning for next school year. So it's about planning to shut down, or planning to provide, not shutting down, planning to provide continuity of learning while kids can't be at school, then implementing that continuity of learning, and then returning to normal operation. And I got to tell you, after this call, when the commissioner and I were talking, our friends in Kansas, the teachers in Kansas, put out this really great Kansas Continuous Learning Task Force. I happen to have a couple friends that were on that, and I know they got a call from their commissioner last Saturday. Yep. They started meeting on Monday, and by Wednesday, they had like a 75-page continuous learning plan. I think that is a great place to start. I think if our teachers would look at that and have conversations with their administrators around, here are some best practices in continuous online learning. And it's a couple hours of instruction a day. It's not bell to bell kind of thing. And so I'd encourage, and one of the things the commissioner asked NSEA to do is, would you pull together some teachers to develop kind of some of those same kind of plans for Nebraska teachers? So guys, nsea.org/volunteers. We need volunteers to be doing some of this work.
And Maddie, there really is a lot of great guidance in that document, both for the teachers and the administrators and for the district in general. So that would be a great starting point for us in Nebraska.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some questions on here about where are we at with testing. We know the statewide testing has been suspended. Yep. Right. The federal Department of Ed is now waiving all like Matt just had to send a text message and say, we need to waive, and they were waiving them. They said it was literally like a check the box kind of thing. But they do need continuity of education services for students with special needs. And so NDA is gathering stakeholder input, and they'll be working to provide guidance on state and federal requirements, okay? Everybody is still trying to figure out what it means for special needs. We don't know all the answers on IEPs and MDTs and hours and all of that. We don't know if it means that can a special ed kid come to school and get one-on-one instruction. Nobody has all those answers, and they're really NDE is working on providing that guidance around awareness of free, appropriate public education, FAPE, IEP requirements, and service limitations for students. And we know we got to balance the needs of students and families with the safety needs of teachers, because I know teachers are concerned about going home to home. They don't want to spread it. They don't want to get anything themselves. And so they're still gathering input, but the most recent guidelines only came out on Friday. Right. So they're peddling like crazy trying to get that out. Actually last night, they just issued a supplemental fact sheet last night. So they're really working to try to figure out what this all means. The supplemental fact sheet, for those of you who want to read it, is available online, and it's part of this PowerPoint, and the words in it, like they cut and pasted it. So again, nde.gov, special education teachers and folks working on that, you might want to read that. They are pursuing federal waivers for testing. And they're working with ACT and NWEA on allowing assessment for student and local use on the ACTs. I've also heard that there are some plans around testing for advanced placement. And the advanced placement program is trying to come up with some alternatives for that. So we understand those are both on people's minds and they're looking on that. But that's where they're at on accountability and assessment.
I have a question maybe for both of you, but maybe also John. Have you guys heard anything about adjusting the expectations for next year's state tests and to adjust for this time of year?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. We're going to have to figure out this year before we adjust next year. No. They are looking to address graduation requirements and all that good kind of stuff. So I don't want to read a ton of this to you guys, but there are waivers to allow meals to children during school closure, and they have waivers to serve meals in a non-congregate setting, so you can come up with alternative ways to serve meals. Some places are school buses are driving around and dropping off meals. So, I mean, you can be creative on that one. NDE is asking all school districts to complete a nutrition services survey that was sent on Friday as soon as possible so that they can find out what every school district is doing. So then there's a lot of public gathering and workplace considerations. There were guidelines issued on March 16th by the White House, and they were to limit such gatherings to 10 people or less through the 31st of March. Our governors followed up with that, that it's no more than 10 people together. Okay, now that businesses can still be open. Schools are a business. They still can be open, but we do need to limit the number of people who are in these confined spaces. Scheduled events need to be modified, canceled, or postponed. Child care centers need to work on the 10-person guidance, and we're struggling on that. They're struggling on that in the child cares and providing. John, you were the first one to bring this up to me, which was the child care for our
healthcare workers.
Our healthcare workers.
Yeah, right.
Right, and how can we as teachers, there are some states that are mandating that teachers become the caregivers for healthcare workers.
Right.
They're actually passing state laws on that.
Wow.
Now, we haven't done that,
right.
But it's a concern.
It's a huge concern.
Yeah. Retailers like pharmacies, grocery stores, and home improvement stores are not expected to limit their establishments to 10 people or less. Although I can tell you I was in Lowe's last night. There were probably 15 people in the entire Lowe's. Derek was one of them. Yep. He was very happy. I can post that video to make people happy. Watch Derek walk around. Okay, so what other questions do we have? I got more, but
what are we hearing from districts regarding online instruction? Has there been any guidance given to you folks as far, we talked about grading a little bit, but also enrichment learning, things of that nature?
The best online guidance I've seen so far is out of Kansas.
Yep.
In fact,
It is,
I saw it. John sent it to me, said, have you seen it?
Yep.
We sent it to the commissioner.
Right.
He's seen it.
Yep.
So I would tell people, if you want to look for best practices right now in the online, I would go to the Kansas Department of Education. I know Karen has posted this in the Facebook feed. And it's on our NSEA.org website, maybe. Yes, Karen's saying yes. And look at the Kansas Continuous Learning Task Force. They have the best practices right now that I've seen around this. So I'd start there, but it's going to go district by district because some districts have online platforms already, some don't. Some have the computers for kids, some don't. Some sent them home for the family, and so you can't have every kid on the family online at the same time. So it's really going to be district by district, and in some cases, family by family.
It is. I was going to say the exact same thing. From district to district, you're going to see a lot of different online opportunities. That guidance from Kansas is great, but that doesn't mean to say if you're doing something at the local level that's working, that you don't have to do that.
No,
so
good point,
it's
John.
Guidance that if you want to look at it, I think it could be very useful from district and boards and administrators and teachers. It's a great starting point to look to see what we're going to do for online learning.
Yeah, I agree.
Do we know if teachers qualify for emergency FMLA law?
Good question, and I pulled that up. So do teachers qualify for the new emergency laws by the government? Yes, they do. So the Families First Coronavirus Response Act emergency paid leave provisions apply to government entities, and yes, schools are a government entity. Y'all can laugh about that later. We all know that it's a little, yeah, okay, we'll let that go. But as such, that means that they get 10 paid sick days for full-time workers, usually hours worked part-time, reimbursed to the entities at 100% pay up to $511 a day if, okay, full-time if, quarantined, COVID symptoms, or you seek a COVID diagnosis. I think that's important, seeking the diagnosis, because we know a lot of people can't get tested, but they've tried. And so you can get 10 paid sick days according to the federal guidelines. Now, some of you have things that you signed with your school districts, and we're still working on settling all that stuff out. You can be reimbursed up to 2/3 pay, up to $200 a day. Just disappeared. Okay, up to $200 a day. Care for another individual in quarantine or because of illness, or your child's school or childcare closure or unavailable childcare. Okay, I know that's a lot of you. You have kids and you're concerned about that. That's why we're encouraging districts to work with you guys, because we don't want a whole bunch of teachers saying, okay, well, if my district's not going to let off the brake or let off the gas a little bit, then I'm going to have to apply for some leave. And we don't want that to happen. You can also get 12 weeks extended school closure paid leave for parents, reimbursed at 2/3 pay up to $200 a day. But we have to work all this out because teachers, we're still getting paid, right? So we are still getting paid. So we need to work all of this out. And so working with your local education association, your negotiators, your local presidents, and your organizational specialists on the NSEA staff is going to be important. But those provisions do apply to us also. Okay.
I have a question. Our school won't let us use Zoom for legal reasons. A lot of schools are using Zoom. Is there a reason? Have you heard anything from districts as well?
I haven't, but we always tell the boards, lean on your legal counsel. Talk to your school.
Repeat the question, please.
What's that?
Repeat the question in case they can't hear it at home.
Okay, apparently there was a district that was told they can't use Zoom for legal reasons. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what, if that was advised by the district's attorney. I don't know what the legal reason would be, but we always advise the school districts to use their legal counsel when it comes to issues like that. So, but I'm not sure what the reasoning might be behind something like that.
And it could also be, it depends on if your school district has one platform and they want you to be using their platform as opposed to another platform. I mean, it's really district by district on that one. So yeah.
I would like you both to speak about inequality issues across the state. We're seeing it as far as internet access and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What have you heard, John, and then Maddie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really worry about this. I mean, equity under the best circumstances is difficult, is challenging. It's something we've been talking about quite a bit for the last few years. You add something like this to the mix, and 240 some school districts out there with a wide variety of capabilities when it comes to online learning, when we have some of the special ed issues that we were just talking about. This is a big concern for us organizationally. And ignore what the state says for a minute, ignore what the feds say for a minute. We know whenever we transition the kids back into school, whether that be in August or whenever that is, we know there's going to be some gaps out there. You as teachers know that. The more that we've learned over the last few years as it relates to adverse childhood experiences and brain science, there could be some trauma out there. There could be some very stressful situations that our kids and us as adults are going to be dealing with over the next few weeks and months. And we've got to think about that when we're transitioning the kids back into our educational systems, whenever that may be. We're going to be dealing with a lot of new situations out there. And I think that's an equity issue. Adverse childhood experiences, the brain development. And that's something we have to think about for us as adults as well. We're going to be dealing with a lot of anxiety and stress and uncertainty. And how do we manage that? How do we manage what's going on at home? How do we manage what we know we need to be doing for our kids in our communities? There's a lot of those things that we need to start thinking about as we look at transitioning kids back into our systems, whenever that may be.
Yeah, and in fact, John and I were just talking on Friday about the concerns that we have about these issues. Let me talk first about the equity, and then I want to talk about the other piece we were talking about on Friday. The equity, look, we know we've got equity. We've got school districts that have a computer for every kid, and we have schools that share one computer. The kids try to get on the teacher computer almost. I mean, there's a real equity issue around that when kids are in school. Now add the problem of they're taking these home, and there's concerns over, what internet access do they have, and some places have eased up on that and some haven't. There's concerns that we've heard from teachers who, if I'm going to be doing this online learning, I have to up my cable bill. Who's going to compensate me for that? And so there's some real concerns because, yes, great that we know we still have a job and we are still getting paid, but not all of our spouses may be. So there's some concerns about that. And so we are trying to, we know there are those equity issues out there. There's a difference between if you can, get in touch with a teacher via an online platform versus, hey, we just sent as many worksheets home with you as we could. Good luck. And that's different for parents too. I mean, my son's teacher, she's fabulous. Wilson is the best. And she was sending me his assignments, and I started laughing. I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to be doing this as well. I'm a teacher. What am I doing with my own kid? And so that's very stressful on all of us. One of the things that, because of that stress, that we're very concerned about is the mental health of all of you, our members, our teachers, our school staff, our support staff. We're concerned about your mental health. And we want to remind you that you can go on to Amwell and pull down the Amwell app. You can get telehealth for free now. We waived the copay on that. So you can get telehealth. So if you're not feeling well, you can go on. You don't have to go into a clinic. You don't have to go into a hospital. You can do it from your phone. But you can also do telehealth mental health services. We're very concerned about that. We're concerned about that for you, and we're concerned about that for kids. It's important that we reach out and talk to each other. And this is something we're looking at. We're looking at what trauma kids are going through, but we also know this is traumatic. I know you're grieving. We know you're grieving the loss of your kids. Our teacher of the year, Meg Helberg, I'm going to say her name wrong, Helgenberg. I just did your name wrong. Just shoot me later. Sorry. But she just did a great op-ed that we sent out across the state that said, I cried when my kids left because I don't know when I'm going to see them again. Right. This is really hard on our teachers, and we know that. And so we want you to make sure you're taking care of yourselves in all of this.
Yep, I agree. I look at my kindergartner; she misses her teacher, and I know that is a mutual.
Yeah.
And those are difficult situations. And if you're not well, if you're not taking care of yourself, it's going to be very difficult for you to help the kids. So we are both very passionate about making sure that the teachers are supported as it relates to their mental health, and that we're doing what we can when we can to support that.
Yeah. Somebody asked if Amwell only does for your own, can you do your own doctor? Amwell is set, it's not like it can telehealth you to your doctor. Unless your doctor has something special set up that they've set up with their office. Amwell is the app that we can use to do this. And that's also if you're in EHA. If your school district is not Educators Health Alliance Blue Cross Blue Shield, you might have something else that, I know some others have also done that, and they've waived their telehealth also. I know United Healthcare, I believe they did that too. I know some people are asking about the gold test for pre-K. Still haven't gotten a call on that. I know Matt said last week he didn't want to say anything that was outside his expertise level, and we still haven't heard on that. We're hoping to bring somebody else in from NDE next week who can answer some of those questions, who's working on some of those details. Also wanted to, some questions came in about grading. Again, that's up to your district. Districts are struggling with this because some districts, they don't want to grade kids because not all the kids have the same equity of opportunity to access that. Others want to grade to make sure that they then can utilize that for students. And so it's kind of a back and forth on that. It's up to your district what they do on the grading. That's not going to be a decision made at the state level. Okay, do we have any other questions there?
A lot of people are still asking about maternity leave. That happens at a district
Yes,
level.
Maternity is at your district level. Your maternity leave is at the district level. Some districts are,
that hasn't really come up, but yeah, that's a district level.
Yeah, it's come up for us. We've addressed some of those. We've addressed those with our organizational specialists, and districts are across the board on what they're doing on maternity.
I've not got any questions on that yet.
Yeah, some of them are saying, well, it's across the board. Some are saying the important thing is if you come off of maternity, that means you're ready to work at the level everybody else in your school is ready to work, and you have to keep that in mind around maternity leave. But again, you need to talk to your local association. You need to talk to your negotiators, your organizational specialist to find out about that. Also wanted to make sure that you got all of those who are NSEA members, that you got in your mailbox your mailer, You should have gotten a mailer from us that has frequently asked questions as of when we mailed it on Thursday. But we're keeping that updated on the website. When we started out tonight, I told you that we got some good new guidance on retirement. Good news for those of you who plan to retire this year. You should all be able to make your 1,000-hour requirement because you're continuing to be paid. But look at that guidance on our website. If you know somebody who's planning to retire this year, please get them to look on that guidance on our website. But if you didn't get the mailer, please go on to our website, nsea.org, send us a note, let us know. If you haven't gotten it by Tuesday, don't do it now. If you haven't gotten it by Tuesday, let us know, because we did send it U.S. mail. We also sent it out via email, and some of the information will be in the voice. Also, we are starting tomorrow, we're starting Teacher TV. Oh my gosh, huge shout out to the teachers who've been working at a breakneck pace the last 3 days to pull together Teacher TV. From tomorrow, from 9 to 11 on News Channel Nebraska, we are going to be offering from 9 to 11 elementary instruction and from 1 to 3 secondary instruction. And we are still putting it all together, guys. It is flying the plane as we're building it. It might look one way this week and another next week, but we need more teachers. We need teachers who are willing to come on and to take their favorite lesson and to teach it. If you know a great teacher who's willing to do their great lesson online, please tell them to go to nsea.org/volunteer and please volunteer to teach online. We'll take all subjects. We'll take all areas. Right now, we're doing this in partnership with Lincoln Public Schools, and Lincoln Public Schools will be shooting them here in the Lincoln Public Schools District office. And we're working to make it something that you would be able to videotape yourself at home as we get more restrictions, but we're not there yet. Right now, we need people who can come into the Lincoln Public Schools district office and who can teach a lesson to a wide variety of kids. If you want to do that, please, we're looking for some folks to teach this week and again and into next week. We've got funding from the National Education Association to do this for 4 weeks. And so we expect that to continue. And so we need more teachers. Again, for grades K through 6 from 9 to 11, and then grades 7 through 12 from 1 to 3. You can access this through News Channel Nebraska, through their website, through their app. You go on their website, you'll be able to see that there's a lot of kiddos who can also get it on the TV. And that's really why we partnered with News Channel Nebraska to do this, is because you can get it on the TV. Yes, we're trying to talk with NETV before y'all tell me, are you working with NETV? Yes, we are. They kind of want to see what it looks like and what our content is. And our hope is right now, these guys are, kudos, shout out, huge props to those about 9 teachers that are rushing to do this. And so we've got folks that are ready to teach tomorrow, and then we've got another group that's getting ready to teach Tuesday. And, it's kind of like being first-year teachers all over again. You're getting it all together as fast as you can. And it's exciting. We also have a team of teachers who are working on offering instruction in Spanish. And we were working to have that up and running by Wednesday. And that would be offered via the Telemundo channels, as well as offered online. So we're working on all this to try to, this is our give back as an association to try to bridge that equity gap. And we felt the best way to do that was to partner with somebody who could offer instruction to kids statewide over multiple platforms and bring in you, our certificated educators from across the state that will be able to, what I said, you always have that great lesson that you wish that administrator would have been in there and evaluating me at the exact minute I'm giving this perfect lesson. Now's the chance for you to give that perfect lesson to people across the state. And please do that. We've Omaha teachers, Lincoln teachers, we need all kinds of teachers to be able to do this. And if you're driving in from a distance, we will pay your mileage to do that. This is NSEA's give back to the people in our communities. Okay.
We can come back to that in a minute.
Okay.
John, there's a question that maybe.
John, question.
Okay. Yeah. So we have someone who has lost her insurance through the school district and wants to know, or her husband's lost his insurance. Can she sign up for EHA? Is there a 30-day rule or something?
Okay, so the question is,
she works for a school district.
Okay, the teacher is working for a school district, is on the spouse's insurance, and the spouse lost the health insurance. So so that's a change in circumstances. So you can get onto the EHA health insurance plan at that point. So the answer is yes.
So you need to contact your HR department,
Yep.
let them know that you've
Yep.
had a change in circumstance.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good one. We haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah.
I bet we're going to hear more on that one.
Actually, you're right. I think that's material change in circumstance. So you are able to get onto the EHA insurance at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right. We are going to start hearing more of that.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. That needs to probably go on our FAQs. Al?
Letters of intent or the delivery date for letters of intent just passed, so those are starting to go out now. The question is, what should those teachers who are going to resign this year do now?
If you are going to resign and you know you're resigning, you can go ahead and resign to your district. If you know, but no, once you've resigned, you've resigned. That's I'd do that carefully right now if I were you. I'd think very carefully if I were you right now about that. But we do know that those letters are going out. Now, we also know that this is also the time in which districts start issuing their notices for RIFs. If you get a notice that you are being RIFed or you are being let go in any way, if you are an NSEA member, you need to immediately contact your organizational specialist. You have 7 days in which to apply for a hearing. Now, when we started all this, John talked about the struggle that school boards are having around hearings. John and I were actually sharing a document today around how we were going to address this to make sure that people's rights were protected. Because as a teacher, if you are given a notice of cancellation, you have a right to request a hearing, and you have a right to decide if that hearing will be, it's the teacher's decision if the hearing will be closed or if it would be open to the public. And many teachers like their hearings to be open to the public. But how do we accomplish that in an online format?
Right.
And so that is one of the things that we are going to be dealing with in the next few weeks. But if you are someone who gets a notice, if you are an NSEA member who gets a notice, please make sure you contact your organizational specialist, which is available via our website, as soon as possible, because by statute, I believe it is, you have 7 days in which to ask for a hearing. And if you don't do it within those 7 days, you've waived your rights for that. Okay? All right. Question?
We have about 5 minutes left, and I just wanted to...
This hour goes really
It does
fast.
go fast.
I just wanted to make sure, was there anything that, John, that you wanted to address while you're here to teachers watching?
Yeah, I do. And there's so much uncertainty out there. I get that. I get that as a parent. I get that as somebody who has a job, somebody who's a part of this education community. And what I'm asking, first of all, what I want to say to teachers is that we appreciate what you do. We have the best teachers in the nation here in the state of Nebraska. We greatly appreciate, on behalf of school boards, everything that you're doing. And we kind of have to figuratively hold hands as we walk through this uncertain path that we have coming up over the next few weeks. If we're done for the school year, how do we manage that? How do we finish this school year? How do we provide the best opportunities? How do we provide the most equitable opportunities? We're going to have to figure that out, and we're going to have to do that together. And then as we transition into this next school year, how do we do that? How do we bring those kids in? How do we identify where there's gaps? How do we identify some of those kids who slip behind even further? And then what are we going to do to address that? So my message to the teachers is we're in this together, and we've got to figure out ways to figure out how we're going to move forward as an education community, and we need you. So I appreciate everything that you're doing.
Okay. Can you pull that question from Drew Blessing?
You want me to read it right now?
Yeah.
This is a question for John. Some schools are declaring an emergency and granting superintendents, boards the authority to make decisions that would normally be a board decision.
Yep.
Are we in favor of this option? Is it really necessary given the governor's order to allow virtual meetings?
Good question. So that is a district by district decision. Again, those are conversations that you need to have with your superintendent and your school's legal counsel. Whether the district should declare an emergency and what does that mean? And then what kind of parameters do you put into a declaration like that? So we encourage local boards to have that discussion with the superintendent and most importantly with the school district's legal counsel as it relates to what kind of mechanism, what does that look like ultimately? And then what kind of authority are you giving to the superintendent if you're going to make that type of decision?
Are you concerned at transparency at all for the public?
Yeah, I'm always concerned about transparency, but those are decisions. Sometimes you have to do things too. So again, from a district to district discussion, one of the benefits that we have here in Nebraska, we really do appreciate local control in this state. And that's a discussion that the local districts have to have.
Yeah. So a couple things that I want to mention. Part of the guidance that was recently issued was that student loan interest on student loans is waived right now, and they're working on more to do with student loans. One of the things we intend to do to help you with your professional development and other things that are going on is to be offering a series of webinars. And one of the webinars they're going to be offered by NSEA is on student loans and what all this means around your student loans and all that good kind of stuff. We're also going to be, we're working with some teachers who are great at technology, and they want to be offering webinars for their colleagues as to how to get up to date on your tech. And so we'll be offering those webinars. What we're trying to do is support you in making sure that your schools are making good decisions as we transition to this new kind of learning, and making sure that it's not only important to have equity for our kids, but it's important to have equity for our educators as well. So we're working on that. We're also working on making sure that kids are getting the instruction they need. You get your professional development. There's a lot going on at NSEA. I know several people have mentioned in the chat box about membership. What we're doing is being paid for by the dues dollars of members. If it's something that's benefiting you, we'd love to have you join as a member. I haven't made that pitch. This is my third one before I've made the pitch. But part of the reason I'm making the pitch is you cannot enroll, you cannot join during the month. I wanted to scratch my nose and I can't. You cannot enroll during the month of March. But beginning April 1st, we will have an open enrollment. And if you've never been a member of the association before, you are eligible to join as of April 1st, and then your payments don't begin until October. And so we'll be getting more information out about that and about the NSEA early enrollment and how you can do that. Because let me tell you, folks, if we have ever seen a time when we all need to come together and there's power in numbers, it's right now. And this is the kind of stuff NSEA does for you. This is what we do. We try to get as much information out there. We work with colleagues, the Department of Ed and the school boards, the administrators, and all kinds of people to be doing what's all in the best interests of kids and our members across the state. So anything else? Okay, so I want Karen to come in here, and Al and Kelsey come in. Come on. I want Karen. I want everybody to say hi to Karen and Al and Kelsey. They're coming in here. Karen won't come in. She's waving from the other room because she's also getting over influenza, and so she's trying to maintain distance. There's Kelsey. Thank you for throwing questions at us. There's Al. Thank you for our yardsticks. I want to say thank you to John for being here. We really appreciate it. We've already got some ideas for guests for next time. Please keep turning in your questions. Remember, tons of stuff posted on nsea.org, 1-800-742-0047. We're here for you. Keep up the great work. I could not be more proud of being an educator than I am with all the stuff you're doing today. Everybody be well.